Great. So we can start off now. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Sunday. So I see that Vipul in his den. One day you guys should see his den. It's a very interesting place.
Thank you so much.
Looks like a gaming chair.
Yeah, I'm also offering off my artwork. So if anybody
Oh,
wants to
nice.
watch that, yeah, I'm going to use the video format for this.
Nice. That looks like a gaming chair.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
So, I have a setup here this side. So this is basically
Okay.
workstation. So
Awesome. I have mine there as well. So that's a PlayStation. So it's sitting there.
So
Work-life balance.
we have the players in the room.
Gaming is a big industry. It's an upcoming field as well. So,
Yeah, it is, and we also have the Kutum team here. And see, it's very interesting, guys. As we are on Facebook now. So, good evening, everyone. Today is a special edition of the Startup Sunday. We do talk about the challenges that founders are facing, what are the ways that one can innovate at scale, how to grow, what are the tools, productivity aspects. And here today we have Vipul, Ashutosh, and Jagat to start off the conversation. It's a special edition where we're trying to just understand, 2021, 2 months are up. So where do we stand? And I think Anmol is also joining in. Great, Anmol. I thought you're coming at 6:30. Oh, and now for those who don't know, Anmol is also a co-founder of a sales training company. And what you're seeing him now wearing that suit and everything is his corporate avatar. Hey, Anmol.
Hey guys, happy to be here. Thank you for the invite. Thank you, Jagat. Thank you, Vijetha. Nice to catch up with you, Ashutosh.
Likewise.
So,
Thank you.
right. So, guys, so just keeping this as a round table, perspectives are around 2021. How's it shaping up? What do you guys see as from a global trends, opportunities? What are the ways that the innovation clusters can be built? And I think Ashutosh, you're going to be talking about sales, right? Because you have your startups, your investor, and Jagat, you have your virtual office and Vidphone tools. People doing a lot of things, but then you should talk about it rather than me. And Anmol, you have multiple careers, my friend. Awesome. And let's kickstart. Whoever would like to give a crisp overview, and then I will balance it off with some of the inputs from the audience as well. Please, guys, go ahead.
Anybody? Happy Anmol or Ashutosh or I think alphabetically. Let's go.
Alphabetically, Anmol will come first.
We're going back to the school days. It felt like, oh my God, I have to write the paper.
Never forget basics.
Yeah, but I'm in fact just coming off from a sales training session. So yeah, I think things are opening up right now. The climate is much better. So for a lot of small and medium businesses and startups, I think we are doing much better than what we were doing in the last quarter at least. And it's heartening to do that founders are back. They are, starting to talk into customers and clock in some revenue. So I think the worst is over. That's what I'd like to believe. That's what I'd like to believe, that the worst is over. I hope we don't have the second, third wave. So guys, those who survived for the last 1 year, it's survival of not the fittest, the survival of the fastest. If you survived, kept your costs down, I think now is when the upcycle will hopefully begin soon. So just stay put, just survive next 3-4 months, and then I think the sales numbers should be back to what it was pre-COVID levels.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Anmol. I mean, I think the other part to it is, I think the startups have gone through an evolution. So, they suffered the whole COVID thing, and now we are seeing, some of the evolution happening. The startups that I speak to, they have, seen what are the things that they can do differently, what are the ways that they can do. One of them is being, a lot of clients have also agreed to meet online, and then they're able to do that. And in some certain cases, they've been trying to travel as well. So, yeah, I mean, that evolution is also happening. And then I also hope that there's no other wave. And I think looking forward to the next quarter. So.
No, it's definitely an interesting time. Jagat, if you would want to add, because one of the things that I would like to add here, in between, is that while the sales is getting back to normal, so what has also happened is, because I'm dealing with a lot of corporates right now, I created a product during the time of COVID, which is basically a device that you could wear to avoid diseases, when you're interacting with other people, when you're walking around. I've got it patented, we got it designed, we were talking to multiple companies in India and abroad. We won a few international competitions, and we were trying to see if we could license those products. So the game that I'm in right now is I'm looking at creating products, getting them patented, and licensing them to the larger organizations. Basically, working on that model. The basic and the biggest problem that I faced during the whole COVID challenge was I could not get prototyping down. There were very few people who were doing 3D modeling, and there were very few people who were delivering on time. It's good to see them coming back. But what has also happened is that a lot of our conversations that were going on with the corporates, and I'm talking about the top 20 FMCGs of the world. We're talking about the leading MNCs in the healthcare space and the automobile space as well. Their model seems to have changed as well. They are a little more responsive as of now. They are getting back on track. Some of them have realized that they need to have these programs done. For example, P&G has a really good program in the US, where they listen to people, and they're looking to collaborate on these sort of deals. India, as of now, does not. So I've been doing a lot of having a lot of conversations with the US team, with the India team, and trying to figure out if we can bridge those gaps. So it's been good. People are back in their offices. Things are getting streamlined. So I think this year is going to be an exciting year. I think people have noted down a lot of things that they want to accomplish in 2021 to make up for 2020. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting year. It looks promising.
Absolutely. I think looking forward, right? It's like the old ad of Apple. Why 1984 won't be like 1984? It's like why 2021 won't be like 2020? But I think that's only because we have a little more wisdom now as a society, right? I think again, if we find the common, foolishness that keeps prevailing, it becomes difficult for everybody. So I was seeing some LinkedIn notes, founders around the world. All of them are like, wow, I've had a great week. I've, been in office after a year. And a shout out to all of you guys, wear your masks, right? Do not screw it up. So that's, I think, a key thing, right? Make sure that we're still careful. Like, it's not that it's all buried under the carpet. So yeah, for us too, I think it's been a very interesting year, 2020. A lot of retrospection. How do we differentiate? But I think I'm a heavy metal fan, and one of the songs by Sepultura, it's called Roots Bloody Roots, and the beginning of that starts with suffering should not be be painful. It should give rise to something creative, and I think that's kind of how we looked at last year. So of course, a lot of product innovation, video mail, virtual office. So we are excited as well. Vijetha, over to you.
Thank you, everyone. And Jagat, just a quick thing. Just call or ping Johnson, because we have sent him the link, but I don't think he's able to. He's not seen it or whatever. Just to keep you in mind, okay? Just figure it out. Great. So now the other input that I would love you guys to look at. For example, we have Lagan, who's from Nagpur. He runs his Decorond, which is e-commerce kind of catering supplies, right? Then Anmol, you also you do so much of training work and coaching work online for so many corporates. Jagat, virtual office, Vidphone, you are hustling your way to getting creative products, and you want to onboard global customers. Ashutosh, both your startups have global perspectives. People, you're building your own product. You're also a consultant on digital transformation and global expansion. You're working with a lot of other top-notch folks, and you have the NASCOM experience, right? So to the founder world, and Ashutosh, your sales aspects also, right? So giving the tools and giving the opportunities, how does one get smart about this? How are you finding your customers, and how are you getting your existing customers to also build your networks and give you more references? So some thought processes, if it makes sense around that, please. Chris, bullet points so that I can add more and more conversation starters for you folks, right? Please. Again, alphabetical order, whichever way you guys want to do it.
Let's go reverse now, Vipul.
Nice. So I mean, like I said before, the times are really interesting. There's a lot to be done now, and people have noted down a lot of things that they want to improvise on and work on. There were a lot of conversations that were left midway, especially the second quarter and the last quarter of 2020. So those are reviving back again. That's happening again. From a global perspective, there is a huge interest coming back into India all over again. There's a lot of people from Israel who are looking at collaborations within India. The European market is looking at collaboration in India. I've heard and I have interacted with a lot of people, who are talking about, people in Estonia looking for, technology driven mindsets and, employing people from India. So there's a huge transformation that should happen and that, people are actually looking for. For example, what Jagat has done. Jagat, started creating the solution 5 years back. He was way ahead of the time. But what's going to happen now is that is going to change the game of how people are interacting, how they're selling, how are they doing their business. And I think Anmol would be a better person to elaborate on that. But the interesting thing I like about what Jagat has to offer here and what startups like Jagat has to offer here is that in the new business environment, how do we pivot onto newer ways of adapting this technology? Jagat, just taking a because I really like this particular feature of Vidphone. I'm not selling Vidphone. I'm just really appreciative of the fact that I actually can send a video as an emailer. It makes my job a lot easier, and especially from a perspective that I have to show my product. If it's not a prototype, it's a 3D model, it's a video of my product. So I need to be able to elaborate on how it functions, how it works, what are the elements. So I found that really, really helpful. It did not really exist for me before COVID, but it makes my job a lot easier. Today, I have my team spread across the country. I have one guy working in Egypt who's basically doing my 3D modeling. I have a guy sitting in Punjab. I have a guy sitting in Singapore. I have another guy sitting in US, and I have another guy sitting in Australia. And we're able to collaborate and we're able to do all of this work without wasting any time. So there's a lot to learn from there, a lot of opportunities from there. But what I'm also really keen to see is that some of these promises that were made by the larger corporates, how do they shape up? Are they going to continue with that change, continue with that sort of a mindset, or are they going to see that this was an abbreviation of how they generally do their day-to-day activity and then go back to what they were doing initially? I think that's going to be something that I'm going to look forward to in the next 2 quarters and see how COVID has really really changed and impacted the business environment.
Thank you, Vipul. Anmol, Ashutosh.
We, in terms of sales, we took a two-pronged approach. One of my companies is purely US based, so not being able to travel was a big challenge. And one of the things that we did over there was we didn't try to expand per se with other clients, but within the organization, we work with JP and Goldman. So within the organization, we found out some places where they were having problems, and then we started speaking to the customer in terms of what can we do more, right? And then we brought that same philosophy in India as well. So we were talking to the customers for my other company, and then we went back and we said, what can we do more? Because here we work with industries, going there and then talking to them, and then we realized, they're like small things. They wanted to put hand sanitizers, dispensers, and then digital gates, all that. So we started helping them on all these small projects, and then we got more and more, businesses. Yeah, granted, it was slightly different from what we do, but desperate times, desperate measures, right? So we did that, and then so that was our strategy through and through during COVID. And now that the things are opening up, we're still not going, lock, stock, barrels over approaching new customers. We are using the ways that we have with the current customers, and then through them we are going onward. So, for instance, while we are working with Excite Industries, we also have like IBM as a partner. So through IBM, we got some other projects, and then we are going that route. And at least for the next quarter, we'll keep that route and then see how it goes.
Perfect. Hey, thanks, Ashutosh. Anmol?
You're on mute.
Mute. Anmol, how can you be on mute?
Okay.
That's shocking to be on mute, Anmol.
For a change, it's good, man. I need to learn to shut up. I've been speaking the whole day. So, anyways, I think it's a good time for a lot of startups to start investing in their marketing. Open your purse strings. Ad costs have come down. I think December, November, Jan was tough for Facebook ad costs jumped up big time, cost per lead. Things have kind of come back to what they were earlier. So when I work with a lot of startups and SMBs, somewhere they are still, okay, if I throw 1 rupee into marketing, am I going to get that 1 rupee back? I think you've got to figure out that repeatable, scalable business model where you spend X and you're going to drive that much sales, So go ahead, and then digital marketing is something that I think every brand, even if it's getting clients from outside, so keep that marketing budget aside. That's one. Start spending it. That's two. Build a story for your startup. Build a narrative. I think it's all about storytelling, how you can, whatever current times are going on, how you can adapt your message around it, right? So very, very crucial for startups to have that narrative to bring in the next set of clients.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that has actually benefited me is that a lot of things, a lot of work that I was doing, for example, getting videos made or getting, animations done or, getting creatives done for marketing, the cost for me has actually gone down. Because initially, it was getting it done in India. We were looking at working with agencies within India. We've expanded that globally. And we're getting some phenomenal work coming out of from, places we didn't identify as, sources of doing work. Now, I'm saying this with a caution because I know Anmol has a video on, how you work with the clients, and there's an option E in it. Yeah. So I'm not saying that I got the option E, but I'm just saying that, it was good to collaborate because, people had, slashed on their cost and, we got some really good talent. We got good things coming in. So it did open up that particular opportunity. And we've been able to pass on that as a cost advantage to some of our customers as well. So that's been an encouraging thing. I hope it continues. And that sort of a collaboration globally continues. It obviously makes it a little more competitive for people to exist, but I feel the quality also goes up substantially in that particular regards.
Thanks, Rahul. Thank you so much. Jagat?
I think, firstly, I just want to thank some viewers who have come in. Sumit, Shiti, Nikhil, Ganapati, Lagan, of course, good to have you. Johnson, I think you can click on the link, join in.
Come. He pinged me. Jagat, I'm in touch with him. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Superb to have all of you guys on a Sunday. Really, thanks for taking out time and joining us. I think really good. I think what Vipul said, right? One is, of course, the video emails. The way I look at it is whenever things are tough, it's like creativity is the new productivity today, right? I think we have exhausted productivity. All the tools, everyone's got Notion, Slack, but I think end of the day, can we look inwards and look at, even if, let's say, there is a second wave or a third wave, right? I think now we have to get to a position to say it really doesn't matter. Let's in fact expect that it could happen. Still, are we, corona proof? Right? Can we corona proof our business? I think that's a critical thing. The people, it's not again about building short term. That hey, the cover's off. Let's quickly go and get some runs, come back. I don't think it works like that now. We have to look at some systemic change, and change is always uncomfortable, right? Like I think Anmol was saying, we got to come back. Everyone's got to invest money back. So when you restart the cycle, again, inertia is there. So we again start thinking a lot, so that takes time. But I think to make things easier, we start, let's assume that, hey, there is going to be another thing. And, looking at there's this whole talk, right? And so, and for us, it affects a lot. A lot of VCs ask us, is your a post-pandemic product? Now, what is a post-pandemic product, right? There's a good way to do something, there's a bad way to do something, right? So let's not worry about the post-pandemic aspect. Let's assume there was SARS in 2020, whatever, every 3 years, there is going to be something pandemic-like situation. And look at the nature of the virus. The next thing that's going to happen in my prediction, I'm not saying that it's going to happen. Again, no Nostradamus stuff, but just going by the history and patterns, I won't be surprised by 2025 if there is a similar kind of thing with bigger mortality, larger mortality percentage. Because
my God, Jagat, don't scare us. Don't scare us.
I was happy all this while, Jagat.
What's the worst that can happen, right? That's the worst. So now let's be ready for that. It's not that.
That's basically we have to be ready. What Jagat is saying, and I agree with you, everyone, that we have to be ready. We have to be prepared. And Anmol, I want to ask Anmol this one question. Anmol, I know you're coming in today because you are doing a sales training, right? So what are the questions that are coming out from these professionals?
The questions which a lot of sales professionals ask. Great. I think a lot of the dynamics of sales have changed a bit, though the fundamentals remain the same. Gone are the days of business travel. It's more about Zoom selling. I think that's the new age of selling. Zoom selling, where not
Vidphone selling.
Damn it, Vidphone selling.
in time. Right now it's all Zoom. Boom.
Right. So eventually we'll get to Vidphone selling, but the whole idea is, can I sell something which I used to sell offline in a very online way, right? So for at least big ticket sales, this is the only way right now to get in touch with your customers, pitch your value prop, and get sales out, right? So that's one. Spending power again is a little less with customers. People are not spending as much. That's because the economy is contracted a bit. So again, the same classic questions, your price is too high. Though we had that question even with India, at least as a market. We had that question even before the pandemic. But yes, with the tight purchasing power, there are challenges on that front as well. So how do you solve those challenges? Even if you're charging more than your competitor, how do you still get that sales?
Okay, interesting. So okay, Vipul, you were also at NASCOM. Now you are running your product. I also know that a lot of work that you were doing was virtual, whether it was your design, your production, and talking to investors, customers. I mean, so many times, I used to think, okay, 10 o'clock in the night, let me call Vipul and find out what the hell is he up to. And he said, sir, I'm on product demo. I'm on investor talks. I said, okay, done deal. I think that's happening to everyone, isn't it? So how do you do this well? How do you really make it effective?
So a very interesting, topic, Vijetha, and I'm glad Anmol is here on this call as well. I think he can get his insights also. So one, the reason I was on product demo is because it was a global market. So the calls used to start in Australia in the morning and they used to go on to the US. So it was a complete cycle. So I was talking to multiple people and sleepless nights. It's actually been a very taxing year because now everybody can get in touch much faster. I would actually like to say that when I started working with startups and growth story, we were trying to create marketing campaigns which were eye catching. And the challenge was that when we were working on like Big Basket or Fresh Menu or Portia and all of these companies, is that we wanted to reduce the cost of acquisition of customers, right? And we had to come up with innovative ways of showcasing a product on Facebook, on Google, or one of these platforms, so that it could grab a person's attention. The problem that has come up because of 2020 is that since more people were spending more time online, either they were on Netflix, they were doing other activities, talking with their families, the attention span reduced. And within that particular attention span, you not only have to sell food, you have to sell business ideas, you have to sell so many other things. So you were vying to get that small percentage of the users interest and the initial interest, and then from there selling your product. So what I've seen is that people became even more innovative in terms of the marketing tools that they were using, the creatives that they were using. They started using animations, they started using GIF. The question of lower bandwidth came into the question as well. So one of the things is, Anmol, have you seen anything innovative coming up in that particular field? Secondly is that because of this, there has been better internet penetration even in countries like India. Because I remember the Prime Minister Modi actually inaugurated online the internet facility in places like Andaman Nicobar as well, where you actually get a 4G connection now, right? So the penetration has improved. People have understand they need better connections. Even at home, when they were happy with marginal connections, that has improved. So now you have a larger audience spending more time in front of the screens. So instinctively it becomes a little more challenging for marketers to use new tools to show that. But it's also an opportunity because now you have better 4G connections, right? You can do video calls which were not possible in a lot of areas before. So now you can actually have those conversations. And I'm talking about cities like, let's say, Indore, Ahmedabad, Surat, and all these particular Lucknow, these areas, right? So now you can actually expand into those regions and really penetrate. So it's an exciting time to be, but yeah, I mean it's a challenge as well in terms of getting that person's attention span.
Interesting. And okay, I just want to quickly check. Johnson, you are able to come online? Hey, Johnson, you can unmute yourself and come online. I think he's joined on. Hi, Johnson. You can quickly say hello to everyone here and also talk a little bit about what you're doing as an entrepreneur and also about the work that you folks at Sayadri Cell and all the entrepreneurship and innovation work that you're doing very crisply and what are happening with you because I know the stories, but would love to hear from you from the education perspective and all the innovation that your startups were doing out there, all the bootstrap startups. What's going on with them as crisply as you can so that we can then continue the conversation. Please.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm from Bangalore. I work as a part of Sayadri College of Engineering and Management. So I mostly focus on how do we make engineering students not job seekers but job creators. So that's the whole idea about it. So one of the major things that we're working on is how do we build an entrepreneurial mindset in the students, and at the same time create a platform to bring community, that is industry and other organizations, students who are right now building their technical competencies and problem solvers, like all the entrepreneurs who are already there, first and second generation of entrepreneurs who are already there in the community, to a single platform so that they can mutually help and build solutions. So we are also helping to create in the same platform, subsequent stages like funding, connecting them to all the other accelerators that are available so that they can progress with their ideas. So that's the entrepreneurial journey that we're currently focusing on. So as an entrepreneur myself, I'm focusing on how do we create a learning behavior in the student, because with most of the edtech startups coming in, I think it's going to be more and more easier for the students to learn. But at the same time, I think the major question for every edtech startup would be how to create a behavior for learning, so that even when you are coming out of it, the students will be still curious to explore things on their own. That's something that I'm working on right now.
Okay, thanks, man. And there's a lot of work that Sahyadri is doing around frugal innovation. They have some very good drone setups. Plus, they're also trying to, see, coastal Karnataka is very good for tourism. It may not be what, say, Goa or whatever Pondicherry is having, but I can personally vouch for this. The tourism, which is such a very, very big employment creator, they have created some really good experiences for guests and for those who want, family fun, very clean, very neat, very safe. And I think that will foster a lot of innovation because we need talent to work in smaller towns also, guys. So while it is about remote, but some of the technologies, right? I mean, you do need the physical stuff to happen. So all the more power and best wishes to you, Johnson. Thanks for joining in as well. Okay. Now I want to get, Ashutosh, you were talking about the sales tools, right? And I just want to give a perspective that we have a few folks here like Mahavir, Lagan, and the Kutum team. Sonia is joining us in from Dubai, and I think Johnson's one team member also is here from Bangalore. So, what can we do around sales? And I want to just keep in mind, right? Vipul is there, Jagat is there. They are also looking for these kind of thought processes and inputs. Over to you, Ashutosh.
So I'll give two perspectives on it. One from a B2C and one from a B2B perspective. Right? From a B2B perspective, is a slightly more harder sale because there are two. One part is that people still want to meet, especially in the corporate area, and then depending on the startup, the type of startup you have. Like let's say if you have a drone startup, you have to have a demo, and you have to show a demo. So it becomes slightly harder, right? People are getting adjusted to the fact that you can show a 2-minute video where it's live and you can talk about it. But the challenge still is like how do you scale up, right? And so first of all, from a tooling perspective, there are a couple of open CRM tools that you can use. You don't have to necessarily go for Salesforce or something like that. I'll share the links for that. But from a approaching the customer perspective, it has to be a little more researched around what we want to do. Like earlier, the approach used to be more around if you're making a drone startup, go to every drone manufacturer, go to every company that is making drone, but try to find that particular niche where you are. If it's something related to agriculture, so target those audiences. So a little more research, a little more in depth, and people are ready to talk about the next level, and then they're ready to talk about sales. But the most important thing is what you're selling. That's one part, but you also should know what the customer is looking for. Looking for that inside information about that customer and what they're specifically looking at. And that's generally true for like healthcare sector, right? So when you're talking about healthcare, even a small thing like as a dispenser, there are particular people to talk about and there are particular people to take, and then that timeline has to be. I mean, earlier it used to be go talk to this guy, go talk to that guy, but now that cannot happen. So that research has to happen, and then that has to be incorporated.
Awesome.
And
Ashutosh, one small interruption. Anmol needs to head back to his training session, I think, right, Anmol?
Yes, guys. So thank you again, for the invite. Big shout out to Vijetha, Jagat. You guys are doing an awesome job to add so much of value to the community. Vipul, Ashutosh, absolute pleasure. Hope we catch up offline sometime.
Sure.
Would love to meet all of you offline. Thank you, guys, and for all those who are there in the audience, get hold of these guys. They've got what it takes to go to the next level. Wish you all the very best. Tada, and I hope
All right,
I see you
see
all
you.
soon.
Hey, thanks, Anmol. All the best, buddy. Take care of yourself. Okay, we'll talk later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good. Sorry, Ashutosh. I just wanted to kind of let Anmol say bye to us. Four guys in a training program since morning,
Yeah.
but I just requested him to take a small break and come in and say it was very sweet of him to do that. Not everyone is so supportive and cooperative, but it was nice of him. Okay,
I would also need to jump out very soon, but I'll complete my thought process.
Yeah. No problem. Hey, Ashutosh, listen, guys, I totally understand and respect that today is a Sunday and it's a family time. Ashutosh, please continue. And Vipul and Jagat, I want you guys to also push in some questions to him. And also the other thing that I think I had asked Ganapati to join in to say hi for you, to all of us, but you have to just raise hand again. All right, Ashutosh, continue because I know you have to drop out.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just start like from a B2C perspective, right? A lot of people think that AdWords is the right way to do it, and if you look at the recent research, there was an article from Google, there was an article from our friends at what do you call it? I forgot the name, but I mean, there's like a lot of ongoing interesting talks about how ads don't work, or you're spending a lot of money on ads, but they're not giving the result. And that's where the engagement of local people starts, right? So, I mean, if you want to get into a B2C sector, let's say if you want to start at the college level, find a college representative who has the connects, and then talk to them, give them some incentive, and then go from there, and then call it to the booking. So B2C has to be a little more also offhand, not very Google work centric. It works only in very certain areas where the demand is too high. For instance, like fintech, where lending is there, so there the demand is too high. So maybe there, it will work, but in most of the areas it doesn't work. So Airbnb was the other side. Sorry.
So I have a follow-up question. Ashutosh, very interestingly, you said that, again, in the B2B space, you need to understand your customer and, what they're looking for before you actually pitch it to them, which is right. While, I was in the Johnson Johnson, at that point of time, what we used to actually look at is, who was the key opinion leader, right, in a particular organization that we were selling to, or, having a conversation with, to figure out, what are their requirements, because they were basically the ones, who were making those decisions and, making those calls. For B2B, I feel that's a little easier to do because you can still use LinkedIn, to identify people, try to open up conversation. B2C becomes very specific, in with respect to a particular region. You still need to have certain penetration to be able to understand and my question is specifically, since you have spent time in the US market, right? Any, tips or tricks that has worked for you there? Any way of, being able to do that? Because, even today there is still a challenge in terms of, finding the right people, in terms of connecting. And even if you find them on LinkedIn, what are the best ways of approaching them, talking to them? Any, lessons that, we can learn from any, insights there would be helpful.
So the first thing, if you are connecting on LinkedIn, right, there's a tool called Crystal Notes. I've spoken about it. So it integrates with your LinkedIn, and then when you're talking to someone, you can actually say that you want to make a sales pitch, and it will tell you what are the things that they would like to hear, right? So based on their profile and based on their, so that's a very interesting tool to use. But in general, with US market, the two things that are very important is they want to say if you have a customer. If you don't have a customer, if you have a POC running, then the second is they want to see a demo. So within that short period of time, if you're actually giving them a V-mail through Vidphone, or if you're just putting it online, so very short clips, 1 minute video which talks about it, or that demo, or when you're talking through a presentation also, just show them that it'll be the most helpful thing. So they are slightly more direct in terms of approach, and then you'll get an answer immediately. There won't be like any hanging back of. But as long as you have like a demo and some pipeline, they would be more than happy.
Nice. Sorry, Ashok, can you please repeat the name of the tool? I just want to note it down.
I'll just put it here. Crystal Knows. So that's the tool.
Great, that's going to be very helpful. Thank you.
That's a phenomenal tool. I mean, it will take you about 15 minutes to set up your own profile, and then you just download the Chrome extension or Firefox extension, and then any LinkedIn page you go to. It's a phenomenal.
No, thank you so much. This is really interesting. I'll check it out today. So, see, that's a beauty of having conversations here. You can actually ask and figure out what are the tools that really work for you.
Yeah.
Wasting time in terms of
And most
doing it.
important, people need to know the right answers, like Ashutosh.
Yes, exactly.
No, I mean, I've used Crystal Nose for almost 3 to 4 years. It was actually tried on to me by someone. So while I was at JP Morgan, so somebody reached out to me. I was like, how do they know so much about me? so then, I did ask them. I eventually ended up asking them, how do you know so much? And they said, I've been using this.
No, thank you for that. And that helps.
Yeah, and guys, see, one of the things about today's world is there's a lot of stress. So I see, I think Ashutosh and Vipul have got it sorted out. They've got the gaming stuff going on. But what are the other things that one can do to unwind, to rejuvenate, and to feel better about life? I mean, that's also equally important, right? Because it's a long run. You got to stay fit. You got to do so many things very well. So, what is your thought processes, guys, on that?
Um, uh, so it's a very interesting question, and I think for me, what has worked is spending some time being healthy, working out, and then that works out for me. I try to spend like an hour or so either running or walking, and then weekends I completely wind off. So I mean, Saturdays I do work, but Sundays I'm either in some meetings here and there, but either winding off and then cooking is something that I've taken up recently. I'm a terrible cook, but works.
And how tasty is your food according to your wife?
Terrible. I'll tell you beforehand before she tells you that.
If you need a second opinion, sometime one of us can, or all of us.
Yeah, more than happy to do that. But I'll tell you what, it's very tasty for me.
More than a wife, after a hungry friend.
So that's what I used to unwind.
Good one. Sorry, Ashu.
Yeah.
Vipul, gaming and guitars, I think.
Yeah, gaming, guitar. Again, I mean, gaming has been really, really interesting. One of the things I've actually learned from the whole gaming thing is the engagement factor. One of the challenges that a lot of games face today is that how do you keep users engaged? I'll give you a quick example. You have Fortnite, you have PUBG, you have Call of Duty, you have multiple of these games happening. They basically depend on millions of users coming and playing on a daily basis. It does get repetitive, but the idea is that how do you keep them engaged, which is something that I've learned for the other factors and other businesses as well. You got to keep the content fresh. You got to be able to understand what your users are doing. So while playing games is also a way of understanding what you can learn and what you can do. Gamification in different aspects is again very important. So that's one thing that I do, and I do tell people that I'm not actually wasting time playing games. I mean, it's a bit of a way of doing research as well. I'm looking at what the future of the things are going to be like. That, and plus, like Ashutosh said, cooking is something that I've also picked up more from a necessity point of view than there's only so many times you can ask people, hey, cook something for me, and then go like, do it yourself. It's you have enough time on your hands. So yeah, and it's been interesting. It's been an interesting journey. I basically picked up a lot of recipes watching Gordon Ramsay. So I mean, it's interesting to see what's there. And again, when you look at his responses to businesses, for example, in reviewing restaurants and stuff, he's talking about the fact that it has to be fresh. You got to be clean. You got to understand your customer's perspective. So I see there's a trend across businesses that basically, Jel, you need to understand your customer. You need to focus on what your customers demands and ask are. So I mean, it's been an interesting time. 2020 has been useful in a way of a lot of internal introspection, understanding my requirements and how do they fit in with the larger system, and basically being happy in life, like Vijetha sir keeps saying that internal happiness is important as well.
Yeah, and just to let everyone know, I can vouch for the fact that Vipul is a very good chef, by the way.
Oh, nice. Then we should party at Vipul's house someday.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Safely.
I don't mind.
and great. Okay, so I want to ask now again. It's a round table. Anyone can bring in this game perspective, right? See, there are failures, there are problems. There is when there is no demand, what supplier you want to get? Right? Things are changing, not in all industries, and this is something that Ashutosh, I was telling you about what Naveen Tiwari also was saying, the Envee and Glance guy.
Yeah.
Like and they also have, I keep forgetting the name. They have a product that is a kind of substitute for TikTok and buy downs. It's called a Reposo or something, yeah, something like that, yeah.
12%.
Yeah, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, so he's saying, see, sometimes things come to you on a platter, but being ready for it and watching the trends and pivoting very, 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 very fast, because it's not just, I mean, like there will be 100 people watching this and saying, oh man, let's do something about it, right? How do you get to know or get a feeling of what is possible? Number one, and how quickly with whatever said and done, you have meager resources, etc. Right? I mean, you not unlimited. So how quickly can you move? So, for example, how quickly can Jagat move with this whatever his few team members that he has got? But remote sales and video thing is so important. So, what do you think about that? And give some pointers, examples in a bulletproof manner, because we are on 640 right now.
I'll probably take that very, very quickly before Ashutosh and Vipul. I think it comes down to how are we able to innovate faster than, I think that's the essence, right? How can we move fast? I think one is really to kind of stay fresh, as we heard from Vipul also. As a founder, you have to be on top of things that's happening in your industry. Like yesterday, I was having a conversation with a guy who's the CEO of one of the companies. He raised a lot of money now, similar space, right? And before even he kind of reached out, I know his issues, I know the challenges. So I think staying on top helps, and of course, you need to have a very good team. I think building out stuff, especially software, you have to have a clear understanding, especially in these days remote, right? We don't have the whiteboard, we can really brainstorm and fix stuff. So it's always challenging. I think your team is most important. You have to stay on top of things. That is, you need to be able to build it out. Like there has to be understanding, and I think you need to be a little brave, right? I think for product development, one of the things I see is that you need to have some courage. You need to go out and do something, maybe 2-3 steps ahead, hopefully, and hopefully it's in the right direction, right? So that I think the ability to take some risk. I'm not really afraid if somebody doesn't use my feature, right? I think that's one thing I've gotten over. We build it because we love it, and hopefully people will feel the need. Yeah, that's I think how I look at it.
Interesting. Okay. Hey, Ashutosh, your input?
So I agree with Jagat here, right? I mean, you build something because you right? So you like it. There's passion behind it, of course. But at the same time, it's very easy to get disheartened, right? So it's very easy to get into that mold that you're talking to people and then nothing is happening. But if you believe that you are in that passion and then you're doing this for something else, right? So you'll always find that niche and you'll succeed, right? I mean, if the passion is to make money, I don't think startup is the right place, right? So
Yeah.
So you have to grind, you have to you do this, but you're doing this not because you're looking at something, right? So and Jagat, as you rightly pointed out, that once you have a team, then you have your additional responsibility, right? So because it's not just you anymore, right? There's like a bunch of people who are with you. So it's very important to follow that passion.
Very, very rightly said. I again agree with Jagat and Ashutosh, but one of the other things that I would like to add is that, and this is I think again coming from one of the conversations that I've had with Jagat, is that I've also learned that when you're working on a product that you really believe in, and when you're trying to create a solution, not everybody is going to buy into that vision right away. Because what you have in your mind, you got to be able to construct it in a way that the other person can deconstruct. Right? Like Einstein said, if you can't explain it to a 9-year-old, you don't understand the concept yourself. Similarly, the forms of selling and getting other people to buy in. One of the problems that I personally felt and I've realized that a lot of people face is when you're creating something new, when you're working something new, you're so close to the ground that you generally lose sight of the macroscopic sort of a picture, right? And in a way that's required because you're solving smaller bugs, to create a complete picture. So I feel that's very important to also have people around you who can be people you can bounce off ideas with. Ideally, I would say not only your team, because your team is also it's their baby as well. They're also invested in in that. But you need a good set of people around you who can say that, hey, what, that doesn't work for me, or maybe this doesn't work. Because if you don't have enough people looking at a product and saying, hey, this is a problem, you will never have the advantage of correcting that or making that better. So that's definitely there. So I think as an entrepreneur, you got to take things with a pinch of salt, but you also need to be able to understand the value of that salt and how important it is, going back to the cooking thing, how important it is to put that salt in the recipe at the right point of time. So,
Amazing. That's a nice perspective. Very nice perspective. Okay, guys, very quickly. Now I'll tell you what we'll be doing next 15 minutes. I also want Jagat to quickly maybe spend 5-7 minutes talking about Vidphone, and in a few minutes where Ashutosh, you and Ashutosh, what time do you have to drop off? Sorry,
I just have to drop off. I'm really sorry.
you have to drop off now.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely no problem,
All right.
Ashutosh. Thank you.
Thank you
so
all.
much.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk later. Yeah. Take care.
We'll
Take care.
connect. Yeah.
Have a great Sunday.
Cheers. Yeah. Cheers. So
One point I'd like to add in, Vijetha, to the previous product development, because I think it's quite important. We have to build fresh products. That's the important thing. India, it's like you said, I think a company like Envee, the new Glance, etc. Again, it's India's TikTok or India's I mean, somehow I feel the key should be about innovation, like brand new stuff.
Agreed.
How do we come up? And one of the things, the challenge is timing. I think that's the real challenge. And now, where does R&D meet market? That's like the cusp, right? That's really great.
Yeah.
That's the big
Innovation at scale. See, the real skill that an entrepreneur like you is having, or and Vipul also, you have the product, you have the innovation, you have the, whatever the vision, but you innovate at scale and be super duper productive.
timing.
Timing is there, but you can't choose it now, Jagat. You can't choose it. You have to be careful about that.
I think this I've learned over like 10 years. Right? When we were doing social commerce in 2010, I was really thinking, what am I doing? I think video chat 2016, I'm thinking, but this I think is a little bit of maturity, right? In the beginning, you're just being brave and trying to say, hey, we can build one step ahead of Valley, at some level. But then you realize that, hey, in India, people are not paying even for, 5-year-old Valley problem. Right? So
it's a problem. See, India, dollar buying purchasing power is always different, right? I mean, Vipul, when you were working at NASCOM and also more and more customers and clients, etc., they were the global clients. Whether we can openly say that, right? Even at TIE, right, Vipul and Jagat, the people that we work with, all the embassies, we work with all the global innovation heads of the accelerators. A lot of this is getting funded from outside of India. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's the truth of life. So we have to accept it. We like it, don't like it. That's really not the point.
No, but shout out to you guys at TIE as well. I see how many events. I mean, you guys are like non-stop.
We're trying to. So tomorrow we have a very nice showcase, by the way, guys. We are having
tomorrow,
it's
right?
8th of March. So we have some women entrepreneurs and a women investor, Anjali from Waterbridge, and a few women founders also coming together and doing a demo at 11:30 in the morning. Okay. So and see and Jagat, you want to quickly get your slides together, and Vipul, please give your input and comment. If you were a user, right? What is it that you would want Jagat to prepare for you? Okay. So guys, keep in mind it's 6:48. We don't want to do too much. And Jagat,
No.
just before that, I just want to get Ganapati to
Yes,
say hi to us, folks. I mean,
Yes.
I'll try again. I'll try one more time.
Let's try now.
Yeah.
No, but while you're getting on the call, one of the interesting things is that we also need to be able to understand that a lot of the larger corporates, I think about 90% of the larger corporates around the world, have built their businesses on R&D, right? I mean, if they've not had innovative product, they've not been in the game themselves. You pick up any company today, from the Microsoft to the Johnson Johnsons to the GEs of the world, they believe in the fact that they thrive on R&D and they continuously spend a lot of money in terms of creating new products and new solutions. So it's right in a way that saying that you've got to be innovative, you've got to be fast. But what also generally does not get mentioned, and I mean, in cases like that, again, a lot of work that goes gets done behind it is very important as well. Because like while Jagat shows a product and says, hey, here's an innovative product, what is the underlying story is that it took years of effort to be able to do that, right? I mean, you do require a bit of foresight, but you require a lot of homework to be able to create that solution as well. So I would say that even if people are creating solutions or looking at doing something, that initial homework becomes very, very critical and very important.
Absolutely. I think it's like Sun Tzu again, right? You have to, and I don't practice that. In fact, video and stuff, I just jumped in because the technology was so interesting in 2016. It just pulled me in. But definitely, generally, if you're not that, what do you call? I mean, something doesn't pull you in that hard. Yes, I think a lot of foreknowledge is very important. You can save yourself many thousands of dollars and thousands of hours with foreknowledge.
Oh yeah, and that's where the timing becomes important as well.
Yes, and we also have some, comment that is coming in about the pain points. A lot of industries, just like whether it's hotels, travel, conventions, co-working, co-living, right? All these guys are having. So Ganapati, if you're listening in, you have to have a steady camera. If you come in with a shaky camera, it's going to not look too good. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Jagat, would you like to start presenting?
Oh yes, I'd just love to, and happy that Vipul's here. Would just love to get his
Yeah,
valuable
yeah.
insights.
I will keep it crisp and easy
Very short.
because
I'll just run through very fast. Audience can just full screen this. Just want to share with you guys, what we've been up to, the virtual office. Uh, all of us know that today we are living in a, remote economy. Is my screen visible? All good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Today we live in a remote economy. We know that, the remote customer experience is broken, right? This is the critical thing. Today, a customer cannot connect with a business in video. And that's, very different from email, phone, and other actual channels, right? You need to be able to connect with them. The secret sauce is really serendipity. How do you bring about good chance meetings, right? Imagine all the beautiful business deals that have happened, right? It's not happened over a scheduled call. Typically, it's happened over some random connection, something there. So what you need is really ubiquity, right? We're saying have an open video ID, an open video address to really do all of these functions. Today, as an entrepreneur, you want to basically, your laptop screen is your office. And our goal is how do we power this remote workplace and workforce, right? Really covering remote sales, remote marketing, support, and collaboration. I think these are the key aspects of running a business today for any entrepreneur or even a business head. You have to be able to have clear appointment scheduling, branded video meeting rooms, video mail, in terms of the sales, powerful webinars and live streaming, and how do you send asynchronous video messages for outreach, how do you do video chat based ticketing and support, and of course remote collaboration, right? So everyone's tired of like the Zoom fatigue. Nobody wants to keep sending links all the time. So you want to have this permanent headquarters, a permanent virtual office that you can actually do everything in one place. So it's what we call the virtual office for remote sales and marketing. As you can see, this is an one of the virtual office interface, right? Looks very much like your office reception. Your customers can just click a link, they can book a time with you, they can see your webinars, connect in video chat. We give you a lot of sequential video tools to advance this customer journey, right? Everywhere from a prospect all the way to a happy customer. A lot of tools inbuilt, right? Very customizable video rooms, right? So you don't need to look like a Zoom or a Microsoft Teams, etc. You can really bring your own flavor. It can reflect your brand, right? And of course, this is our latest kind of rollout. This is the virtual office workspace itself. Very much like your own office, right? You're sitting next to your friends, next to your colleagues. You're having conversations with them, and yeah, it looks really, really interesting. We think that there's already a lot of proof of a lot of productivity increase on this. See, what's the secret sauce of all this, right? Why are we doing all this? It's so that you can really have this clear customer acquisition funnel process, right? Through you have your virtual office, you have your social outreach, everyone's coming in there, you're capturing the leads, nurturing them through the tools, and then converting to dollars, right? So this is a very straightforward funnel that we are helping startups and SMBs around the world, enterprises, and education and healthcare sectors, right? So this is where we are. So get it now is what we say, right? Vidphone.me. Feel free to reach out. I'm always available 24/7. Happy to have feedback and would love to know more. Yeah, thanks, guys.
great, great. And Jagat is very important. I'm sure Vipul will agree. Very easy to still, you got to shout out to the world about the differentiation through some simple explainer videos, infographics, so that they don't have to ask you, unnecessary questions. They can just get to the crux of the matter and how it will benefit them. I think it's beautifully done. Very neat, powerful slides. But yes, ultimately the proof is in the pudding. How many customers are coming in? But great, it's very nice, very beautiful, because you are selling to also help the other customers to get customers and to nurture leads. So I think that's a very beautiful take on business. Vipul, your comments in as crisp manner as possible.
I like it. I would definitely have some very detailed suggestions. We can discuss that off the call. But overtly, yes, I do like it. I like the fact that you've clearly identified that in a sales process, unless and until you don't see somebody face to face, it's not going to close, right? It's going to happen, and this sort of a tool helps you do that fast, right? And that's the beauty of it. So I think being able to show that process, where Zoom takes, and I hate the fact that I need to download a Zoom link every time I have a conversation. I absolutely hate it. So the point is that, if you can do that conversation right on the go, you're saving a lot of time, you're reducing your steps, you're making your customer journey better, in turn making you look better, right? So that's the important part. So I love it. It's a great tool. So yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good. I like it.
Just also want to add in, right? I mean, and I use Vidphone a lot more than anybody else, honestly speaking. And now it's become, it's not, I'm not trying to sell Vidphone. It's just that we have always tried to build this to solve some of our own problems. And one of that's always been for me to cold outreach somebody in the US, one conversation. I don't want to have multiple 6, 7, one conversation, boom, you book my time, we're on a video call. You won't believe 9:30. I met somebody on LinkedIn, like a very senior guy who's a president of a really large company, must be in his, I would say, 60s. Looks very, very senior folks, right? And just one LinkedIn message, cold outreach, added us as a friend. The next message from him was, hey, would love to, explore possibilities. And I have a link called /schedule/Jagat. So basically, Vidphone Virtual Office is a set of 5 links. Okay, 5 URLs to run your business. This is how we kind of brand it. So it's a schedule/Jagat. He's booked a time today for 9:30 in the morning. So I finished that call with him at 9:30 in the morning, and already business is moving. It's overnight. It's an international, connection. Absolutely cold, with one link.
Yeah.
I think that's the power. That's what we need.
Easy to use, easy to set up, and seamless across time zones. Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Great.
And we
And
give
then,
them the option to book. See, the thing is this, with Zoom, we have to always keep sending out and existing meetings, right? We say, okay, what time, etc., and you send out. Mine today, you go to the virtual office, vidphone.me/vidphone or Jagat, and you can select out of all my available times. So it's really at your convenience.
correct.
You put them.
Understood. Yeah, sure. And
I think
people. Yeah, sorry.
So
Continue.
just to add, so I didn't lose the chain of thought. See, one of the other very important things, Jagat, is that you're solving a problem when it comes to vernacular languages.
Yes.
Right? Your solution works also on semi-low bandwidth to mid-low bandwidth sort of a thing. And you don't want to have conversations with people, let's say sitting in the Middle East or sitting in Egypt. For example, I can't talk to the person who's sitting in Egypt. We need a Google translator to be able to do that. But this becomes so much easier, right? If I want to show him things, I'm like, hey, click on this link, come. I don't have to explain like 10, 15 other steps. And I think that's one of the beauties that you can also showcase that, hey, if vernacular language is a problem, not anymore. This is how you do it.
No, video, I
Get to the
think Vipul knows me from the beginning. I always said India, 8% of our population knows English. And I've always been passionate that if we want to bring the remaining 90% of people, it has to be on video or voice. It cannot be on text. And translate does not work much. I mean, it's not at scale. It really doesn't solve a big problem. And just to explain again, wonderful point. I had a friend of mine from Israel who was staying with me about a few months back, and he was here, and obviously he's traveling around India, and he wanted to talk to his dad, and he was really struggling, right? I just said, hey, try Vidphone, right? It's very simple. He said, no, my dad's very old. He has nothing to do with technology. I said, you just give it 1 minute, and if he's not able to get in, you can just forget trying it, right? And you won't believe, just shared the link. All his, dad will click the link, and he's seeing his parents after 6, 8 months, right? And just that feeling is amazing to watch, right? And his really old, aged father, so easy for him to click a link and just come in. These are the moments that make my day also sometimes.
Absolutely, and that's what you need to be talking about, like the ease of being able to use it, right? That's the crux of it. Because it's simple. When I'm talking to my customer, and even if they're coming to meet me in person, right? If they're stuck in traffic, I'm worried about if they're going to reach the meeting room in time. I'm guiding them through the directions. Starting from there, to let's say if you're doing a video based thing, I'm like, hey, you know what? Here's a Zoom link. I'll send you a calendar invite. Click on that. Here's a password. Log in. Let's have a conversation. I mean, it takes so much of pain, to be able to do that. And in today's day and age, if you're not able to, reduce those steps, then you're not making it better. And every time you make your customer journey better, every time you're able to make your customers' life better, they're going to appreciate you for it. So that's I think something that you can really look at from marketing perspective.
Good to hear Lagan's progress as well.
Yes, he's been growing steadily. Yeah, Lagan's doing well out there in Nagpur, small town. Onboarded the customers and growing, and they're doing a lot of innovation. And there's a lot of recognition also that he and his co-founder, who happens to be his wife, well, is getting also. Okay. See, I want to quickly touch base on this, guys. See, there is the edtech industry, there is the health tech industry. Then, Jagat, you're also talking to a lot of large companies who are launching their brands in India. There are people who are selling EV vehicles. There are people who are selling cars. There are people who are selling whatever. So many products are being sold, which were traditionally always around retail, always around physical, face to face, whatever. So in your thought processes, I mean, if nothing else, Vipul, Zomato and all these, they're bringing world cuisines to your doorstep, literally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. So it's again just before Jagat answers that. It's very simple. Vidphone is available as an API, right? I mean, if you're building a business where you need to be able to, let's say, talk to a doctor face to face, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You have the tool available. Let's say you're doing it for sitting out of south, northeast, and you're able to say, hey, you know what, I want to look at my product before I buy it. You have this. Right? There's so many other things that you can do with it. So I'm just saying it becomes an important tool that people can use as well. And so this got a big advantage for other businesses to use.
Yeah. And yes, there is an investment and one must take care of it. And one must also look at how to learn the tools smartly because you have to leverage the potential of the tools that are available today. So, guys, want to actually touch because I just realized it's 7:01 Sunday evening, please family time.
Nice with you guys.
So, okay. So I want to just show some of the books that I've been also reading these
Yes.
days. Yeah. Deep work.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
speak here.
And yeah. And the hard things about hard things. Beautiful book. Okay. So the Jagat, like I mean, of course, a lot of people are talking about tools like Layer. People are talking about tools like whatever. So many man, so many tools are out there. Outside of India as well. But about Scrum, I think both you guys from the technology engineering background, so Scrum is such an important thing that is there, and what can happen around that. Clubhouse kind of tools are there which have grown so much. But how can India also with its vernacular and that is something we should look at. Okay, Eat the Frog,
Yeah.
that's another decent book. Now, this is something that I like for those who are not really into technology, but who still want to be creators. They still want to innovate. So you're building your creative confidence as a habit, as a muscle, and as a skill set. Okay, like Jagat, for example, you use mind mapping, you use all these kind of things, but what can we do better? Okay, then I was also this is a good book. Built to last. This is a little bit of maybe the younger lot don't read this kind of books, and maybe some of the information examples here are dated, but the methodology of research about how you build to last, right? Your products could change, your customers could change, okay, but you still stay there, right? And of course, a traditional favorite, someone who talks about sharpening the saw,
Yes.
delighting customers, and taking care of your teams, taking care of yourself. Small things, but I think these make a big difference.
Make a
And
big difference.
we should not. I think Vipul, your wife works for Nike, and Phil Knight, he's Just Do It, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another great book. And who are the Indian mentors or people that you guys look up to? I mean, that's what I would love you to guys quickly talk about. Productive tools. Who do you look up to? Your mentors, your whatever, whatever. Just quickly so that we can have a chat.
Look up to, I think, like we were talking about some international guys. So give me the privilege of taking.
Yeah. Indian, bring Indian people.
I'll tell the Indian guys next. Can I please tell the international guys I like? See, one obviously for me, two big inspirations in entrepreneurship. Like when I was 16, there were two big guys, right? One is Steve Jobs, one is Richard Branson. Completely contrasting, completely different entrepreneurs. One is like a micromanaging freak, and one is like a macro guy. 400 odd companies, one is one company. So these two are big. I really always look at how they run their business, right? It's just very contrasting but amazing. So in fact, today I was watching about how much of trouble Branson is in. It's quite surprising. His whole Virgin Empire is at stake, and who knows, Necker may be on the block, right? So let's make money fast. So that's, of course, in India, mentors, I think one, of course, see, I look up to the community and Vijetha and, Vipul, all of you guys have provided me so much of inputs, right? So number one is our close first circle. I think they are the most important. Of course, our investors give us some advice. Our investment banker has some views. So there are different people I think I really look up to, but on a constant basis, it's all the community. It's who we can share and bounce off. And that's very important, right? Mentoring is no more a one-way kind of conversation. I don't like that because I'm sure everyone comes, they have their own views, but we are walking our walk. So we have some views. So when it's a two-way conversation, it's a lot more easier. So that's what I really respect, right? And people who have time for you, there's nothing more important in the world than that. I think that's beautiful that people do that. So that's critical. But yes, we are also looking to put this right. Even Founders Feed, the startup, this Startup Sunday, all of these are areas where an entrepreneur can find some. I wouldn't use the word mentor as a hard kind of thing, but to find friends to bounce off ideas, right? I think that's critical.
You need to have your board. You need to have your board of friends, mentors, and take the advice. It's
Again,
not that you
mastermind
have to.
group. I think I don't know who it was, probably Napoleon Hill or one of these guys, right? It's the
Yeah, yeah,
mastermind group.
yeah, yeah.
Critical
The
think, yeah,
virtual boardroom.
mastermind
Like
group.
if how would this person react?
Yeah.
How would this person take care? I mean, I was just mentioning someone names like Inmobi, Zeroda, Yulubike, Dunzo. They're doing very well. I mean, we should not forget about Zoho. We must not forget about Freshworks. These are all guys who have been, like Indian based, building. But you know what? These guys are so humble. They say that we can do 10 times more. Right? They're not just happy with where they have reached. Even if they have reached a $1 billion evaluation and $100 million revenue or whatever it is, they say we want to add the extra 10x or 100x. Right? We want to have evaluations. It's one angle, but can we get to 1 billion, $2 billion, $5 billion, $10 billion sales? Was no product company has achieved that in the last 10 years or 15 years or whatever it is of innovation in India.
I think Salesforce is the company to chase, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fast and but
Yes. And not too many people know, but HubSpot also is run by an Indian, Dharmesha. He's the guy. So, we go to like Indians have been in this, like, and I was very interesting anecdotes I read that, that why is Microsoft once again such a respected and loved organization despite everything else is that a guy like Satya Nadella who runs it is a nice person. Yes, they have a monopoly, they're big, they're strong, they want to make lots of profits and money, etc., etc. But they're going about it in a nice way, and that's very critical and important, isn't it?
yeah,
And
challenges. Wonderful you
yeah,
mentioned that. Just a last note. When you mentioned Satya, it just came to me, Satya Nadella. If you actually see, he shares in one of the YouTube videos. Not too many people know, but his son had, I think, cerebral
yeah,
palsy.
yeah, yeah. It's a very yeah.
Kind of story that he has come through. Again, it's a behind the scenes. Nobody knows that. There's no him as CEO of Microsoft, but he also has gone through problems like that, and I think a lot to learn, right? I think just as a father and as a human being, I think it's fantastic what he's done.
Yeah. A lot of adjustments that him and his wife had to do for the child, and he says that look, we felt bad, but initially, but then we realized that we have become better human beings
Yes.
because of that, and also he has recognized that it's a big challenge and problem, and so they're doing a lot for the community. See, because whatever certain done, they may have certain privileges, they have certain resources
Not
that can help
everyone.
them to, yeah,
Absolutely.
but not everyone. So they're trying to look at those angles also. I think so. That's all the game of life.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I was
absolutely.
just yeah. Also, I think guys, I mean, see, for example, Vipul, you have come from army background, you have traveled to different parts of the towns and smaller towns, etc., etc. There are so many Indian leaders from the away from the metros who have grown businesses like Haldirams or
Yeah.
MDH Masa, and in the food space or in the real estate space, etc., etc. In some of these older industries, in manufacturing, like I know that a lot of people from the Tirupur belt have grown companies to 50 crore, 100 crore turnovers steadily for the last so many years. Jockey, I'm just saying there are so many Indian brands are there that we should not ignore, or we should learn their lessons about how they fought their way to the top. Okay.
I I agree with this, and I think what Jagat says is very right. That in the Indian context, right, there's still so many great people solving wonderful problems. So when you talk about who do you look up to, obviously I mean people like Ratan Tata and all these people are pioneers in terms of what they've done, and you can learn a lot from their actions. But Jagat is right when he says that what's happening in the ecosystem and the startup ecosystem in India itself is very inspiring in terms what people are doing. To give you a small example, I know this one banker, an Assamese banker working in Amsterdam, came back to Assam, wanted to create a banking system and a solution for the people in Assam. Realized that majority of the women in Assam save their money by investing it in pork, and pork has one of the largest markets in Northeast, but they actually import 70% of their requirement from states like Punjab and Rajasthan and other areas. So he started looking at how do you make the poultry industry a little better, how do you make it easier for women to take care of those pigs and the litters that come out and then sell it. So by doing that action, he's actually impacting the banking industry. So he's taken food and connected that with banking, which is a phenomenal story if you look at that particular space. So there's one man doing that job, and there are inspiring tales of people doing these activities, in smaller cities and different places, and doing that. So I would say that what would work for people to do is be active on these sort of forums. Listen to people and their stories. It's always very inspiring. On what people are doing, and it gives you a lot of idea as well. I mean, you're solving a banking problem by looking at export of food and a commodity. So how you're solving that problem opens up your thought process also, and you can figure out what works for my region. Similarly, in terms of reading, I would like to say there is a great economist. His name was Peter Schumpeter. He was an American. He was actually an Austrian German, economist. But then he came to US and he was teaching there. So he's written a lot of stuff about the startup ecosystem way back in the 1920s. That is something that we're following today. He was the one who came and said that there would be pioneers, there would be investors, there would be VC communities that get created, and that will actually increase the flow of business in a different countries. So amazing! You can just Google him again. Just look for Schumpeter, and what he said, and what he spoke about that point of time is something that's still coming. It's coming true today. So there's a lot of stuff that you can learn from this.
Interesting. And I guess we have to scale up. We have to include academia. So that's why I wanted to get Johnson in with his perspective, because Sayadri and Coastal Belt, they're trying to build things, right? We have been talking about the northeastern thing also, and Jagat, you have, I'm sure from your college, your engineering college, a lot of your folks are your classmates, seniors, juniors are in.
My college now, the guys are rocking. The co-founder of Dunzo is from my college. The co-founder of Unacademy is from my college. Guys are rocking it.
Yes. Yeah. So then, and I'm sure all of them want to give back. They want to contribute. They want to support other founders who might be, facing up to those challenges that they were facing when they were scaling up. And challenges will keep coming, man. It's not straight curve, right? It's always ups and downs. Okay. So, Jagat and Vipul, you should reach out to more people. Figure out how we can, and see everyone. Look, they could also be potential customers for you guys with all your startups and your showcases and your products that you're building, right? Fantastic, man. Listen, guys, it's 7:12. When good conversations are happening with good people, it goes on. But I know it's Sunday evening, so I really want to thank the viewers, the audiences, all those who are watching us on Facebook, on Vidphone, on YouTube. Closing comments. It's 7:12, and we can close in the next couple of minutes.
Over to Vipul.
Yeah, I would say hustle on. So there's a way of rocking on. So yeah, it's hustle on.
It's a new Led Zeppelin song. Hustle on.
It's a new Led Zeppelin song.
After Ramble On.
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic. I second that, of course. Let's hustle on to the stairway to heaven. Stairway to business heaven. But I think, just on the note of the topic, right? Just perspectives and the global aspect. I think the message that's coming out today is that by default you have to look global. That there's no more saying that today we're an Indian company, and because by the nature of COVID today, everything's it's no more in a new country. It's just a new link. So that's the whole difference. I think global day one. That's I think the message that's coming out. Over to you, Chief. Yeah.
Great. Hey, thank you so much. And let's keep building this. And of course, reaching out to everyone. There are a lot of things that we are all working together on. The Startup Sunday. Then we are doing the League of Extraordinary Startups. There is a startup story that Ashutosh is helping us out with. And I think Vipul and Jagat, you folks are also trying to put together a lot of activities. Let it be around products, around tools, around scaling up, about innovation, about how to connect with people on a global scale, how to attract ways to do business, and we should do that. Yeah, sitting in India, getting employment, getting the innovation going. But why can't we be global in terms of the customers, right? Because we have to learn from various other people. Not that we are not capable of doing it. And I think you guys are in the forefront of all these activities, and looking forward to doing more and more work, guys. Thank you so much to everyone.
Special
all right?
thanks to you, sir. Special thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Vipul.
Thank you.
Everybody else. Thank you a lot.
Yes.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
for hosting this.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, bye.